Fierce People with Donald Sutherland and Diane Lane, alright, directed by Griffin Dunn, 2005. So, as her son Finn takes some liquid acid given to him by his girlfriend's brother, since he is into South American tribe because of his dad, he lies on his bed while a shaman prays over him and he is surrounded by rainforest. He wears a monkey skull with feathers too. I assume that's a shaman and not the sun. Again, this is a long time ago, I barely remember it. These are just some random bits, considering it's a comedy with some very famous people, and then they've got tripping scenes. And tripping scenes don't always do that well, the films kind of flop, but Fierce People I think did alright. Here's another one which is great, Death at a Funeral, directed by Frank Oz, 2007. Classic, the original, not the American shit remake, but the English one. So Alan Tudyk is slightly depressed or stressed. His girlfriend gives him a Valium. Little do they know that it's actually a concoction of Friend's special stash. It has acid, peyote, and ketamine, so you can imagine it gets pretty fucked. He ends up naked, nearly jumping off the funeral building. I do remember it being quite funny and him acting really good. Probably no visuals, but it's more about the performance, so you will get some of those on my list. A Million Ways to Die in the West, directed by Seth MacFarlane, 2014. So his character, Seth MacFarlane, drinks a whole gourd of peyote and has a hippie happy dance musical number trip. He sees trippy colours and sheep. It ends up with him kicking a giant bird in the nuts. It is basically a live action version of Tripping in Family Guy. You know, what can you say? The creator of Family Guy has got to have a tripping scene in his live action debut, right? Amazonia, 2014, directed by Thierry Ragobert. The main monkey eats a red mushroom and trips out to jungle audiovisuals and has flashbacks of his journey so far. The scene is intercut with the monkey drifting in and out of consciousness. Reminds me of the bear. Remember the bear? You should. Okay, now Hammer of the Gods, 2013, directed by Farron Blackburn. I actually saw this film twice, second time by accident. Steiner, who is the main Viking guy, he arm wrestles a rival as he gets his drink laced. He sees trippy visuals intercut with his opponent still wrestling him, an interesting take on Viking history. So a lot of people think that they didn't really trip much back then, but they always had shamans and gangs and villages and, you know, like cults or whatever you want to call them, sects. And there would have definitely been some tripping, alright? Whether it was a main population, who knows, but the shamans for sure, because they were in tune with all the spiritual stuff. Dawn Peyote, 2014, directed by Dan Fogler and Co. Starring Dan Fogler from Fanboys, which is great, Star Wars fan film you should see. Finally takes some ayahuasca, nat peyote in the film, with Josh Duhamel, who is from Transformers, and has a musical trip whilst in their van and ending up in the desert. Worth a watch for the history lesson. Okay, again, crap film, but worthwhile for the tripping. Snow White and the Huntsman, directed by Rupert Sanders in 2013, and he hooked up with Kristen Stewart. Yeah. Starring Kristen Stewart of Twilight fame, this is definitely the darkest version of Snow White. The scene in question is where she is lost stumbling through the evil woods and comes across dark mushrooms. These spores are the bad guys of the piece since they instantly cause bad trips. This was my favorite part in what was supposed to be a typical Hollywood adaptation of a Disney property, but very dark, and that scene proved it, okay? Now, you should watch it, but let me move on because I'm running out of time here. Hobbit 2 Desolation of Smaug, 2013, directed by Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame. Like Snow White, our main characters stumble upon the sick woods with a trippy vibe occurring once going off track. The only way to evade tripping is to climb up the trees and breathe fresh air. A metaphor is in there somewhere. Lol. Alright, don't know why I wrote that at the time, but I think that's again like Peter Jackson had to have a tripping film. I don't think Tolkien had it in The Hobbit because it's more for kids, so don't know why they would have had that, but it was a good bit, and the second one is probably my favorite as well. The first one was crap, the third one, yeah, but the second one had some good bits, like the tripping bit. Anyways, Necessary Death of Charlie Countryman, 2013, directed by Frederick Vaughn. Ah yeah, now I remember. Shia LaBeouf gets his drink laced with a combination of ecstasy and some kind of trip, since his visuals can't come off a pill, right? He has arrived in Eastern Europe for self-discovery and briefly ends up with James Buckley from In-Betweeners and Rupert Grint, aka Ron Weasley from Harry Potter, partying in a hostel. The best bit is all the girls become naked and walk around normally as if no big deal. That trip reminds me of a low-budget party film that my friend China saw, like in the tripping, if you ever read my book, or ever see the film if it comes out, I don't know, I have to get funding. China, like, while we were having a bad trip, you see naked chicks everywhere, and the bastard, still jealous, you know? I was on a bad trip thinking about death, and he's like got naked chicks running around. Okay, it's the last couple here, so ABC's of Death, directors various. Two of the alphabetical horror shorts that stuck with me for obvious reasons. One is O for Orgasm. A chick is getting choked and hallucinates trippy colors and bubbles, as you do. And second is W for WTF, with bad trip visuals. Not sure how to explain it, because hot chicks shooting laser guns, there's some kind of giant walrus, is trippy as hell. Alright? Barely remember that. I saw this second one, the second one was crap. Anyways, 26, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, directed by Stephen Pink. John Cusack's son, played by Adam Scott, takes drugs at a party and has a fast, hectic super trip in the future. Crazy colors on the dance floor scene. That's what I wrote, so probably a combination of like pills and trips. I don't think it was just like trips, unless it's like future trips, like TCI, TCB stuff, who knows, maybe more advanced. And the final one on the list, Electricity, directed by Bryn Higgins. The main actress has migraines and hallucinations just before epileptic fits. The visuals themselves can be explained through Oliver Sacks's book Hallucinations. He describes all the various types of visual and auditory hallucinations and the reasons. So he explains that before they have a seizure or a fit, a lot of time they have a precursor, which is flashes. They smell, they hear, they see something in their mind or their mind's eye, and then they have the fit. So it can be triggered by flashing lights, but Oliver Sacks and what happens in the film is showing something slightly different, which is a different take on epilepsy, where it's something connected with the brain per se, not just auditory visual that causes it specifically. Okay, so I hope some of that made sense for you, and that's my tripping in film series. Don't know if I'll get around to do the tripping in TV because this took long enough, okay? But yeah, that's it for Lads to Baz for now. Okay, bye. Have a good one.